What's up, everybody? My name is Greg Helbeck, and thank you for watching or listening to another episode of the Real Estate Investing Fast Track. Today, I'm going to do a real estate deal breakdown on a deal that actually did not go down, but I felt like the lesson was so valuable I had to share it. So, if you're not familiar with me, I've been a full-time real estate entrepreneur now for almost a decade. I've done well over 250 houses. I got a seven-figure business. I've learned a lot on my journey to success, and it's a never-ending journey. So, if you get value from this video or any other one I put out, do me a favor, if you're watching, subscribe and like the video. If you're listening, share with some other people. And today I'm going to talk about the wholesale deal that was almost going to be a home run, but turned out to be a giant strikeout. This property was actually out in the Reno, Nevada region. It was in Carson City, which is right south of Reno. The seller called in and I was actually in Japan, so I had zero involvement besides giving my acquisitions guy the green light to do it. Seller was motivated, to say the least, and she had this postcard that we mailed her for like a year or two. And she called up, and usually when the old leads call from ancient mailing campaigns, they're extra juicy, motivated. And long story short, we thought, and remember that lesson there, we thought that she was looking for $300,000. So I looked at the property real quick while I was in Japan, and I said to my guy, if she wants 300, we can do 300. The house is worth 550, 575 fixed up. And based on the pictures, it doesn't look bad. So he went and put it under contract for 3013 to be specific. So basically 300 grand. I got back from vacation. This was literally a week ago. And I'm going to wholesale this for $80,000. And I ended up wholesaling it for $85,000. So I found a buyer within 2.5 hours. We got a contract to sell it for 385. The spread was so big, we were going to double close. So anyway, the whole time this is happening, I'm like, this sounds too good to be true. Why is this lady taking such a discount? It doesn't make any sense. Like the house isn't in bad shape. There was like a disgruntled family member living in there with her, but like that is not justification to sell your house for 200K below market value. So anyway, she reaches out to us this week. She was like, hey, just wanted to confirm because she had a mortgage on the property. She's like, hey, you guys are going to give me 300,000 and pay my mortgage off, right? And obviously that's not the case. Usually what happens is, the purchase price is, in this case, it's 300. She happened to owe 220. So at the closing, she was getting net $80,000 because on pretty much all real estate transactions, if you owe money against your property and there's equity, you just get the difference between what the purchase price is and what was the total payoff. So I was like, no, that's not the case. You're going to get whatever the difference is between 300 and your mortgage. And she's like, I can't sell the house if I'm only going to get $80,000. So I got on the phone with her and I got on the phone with Brett and we had a conference call and she was like, I thought you guys were going to give me $300,000 and pay my mortgage off. So in that case, that would have been a 520K buy price. House is worth 550, 575. That obviously doesn't work as an investor. We obviously can't do that. And she was super nervous because she signed a legally binding contract with us and we have a deposit down. So technically speaking, I could have said, well, you should have known what you were signing. And I could have been a tough guy and been like, we're going to buy the house anyway. We're going to force the sale. But I didn't do that. I let the seller out of the contract scathe free. I said, listen, I couldn't look you in the eye and enforce this contract because we are buying this thing so cheap. I would be a complete scumbag if I did that because of what she thought. So it was a communication issue. Could I have enforced the contract? Sure. Would that be the right thing to do? Absolutely not. Because if I were to do that, yes, I probably would have made $80,000. However, I would have literally screwed this lady and she would have gotten $80,000 when she could have gotten, 200. So here's the lesson. Sometimes the right thing to do is to let sellers out of contracts. And I normally am not a fan of that. I usually am the kind of person where it's like, if we made a deal, we made a deal. However, in this case, because of the communication issue, especially I wasn't involved in this deal at all during the negotiation, I just kind of approved it. I couldn't keep this lady in the contract and fuck her over. And then she said, listen, when I sell this house eventually, I'm going to want to do something with you guys regardless. So we'll probably end up doing a novation on this thing eventually. And we could probably still make some money doing that as long as the numbers make sense. But sometimes you're going to have these crazy deals and they're going to blow up for whatever reason. And you have to just accept it. And you got to understand in this situation, given the fact that she just didn't understand exactly what was going on, it would have made no sense to enforce that contract. However, there was a deal that was maybe 5, 6 months ago where the house was free and clear and it was vacant and the seller had a POA and the POA was in sound mind and the POA tried to change the terms of the contract. They tried to back out and I ended up settling and we ended up getting the property and making money on it. So in that case, there was nothing wrong about doing that. The seller was happy as a clam originally. Then someone got in her ear and said, you're selling it too cheap. And she tried to back out and I filed a list pendants on that property and we ended up getting it done and making money on it. So that's the second lesson. when you have situations like this, it's a case by case basis, right? Every deal is different. That's why this business is so fucking hard to scale because there's so many moving parts going on at once and everything is always different and everything is changing. So at the end of the day, you have to take these unique situations, just like this property in Carson City, and you have to handle it with the facts and the circumstances. And letting her go out of that contract was the right thing. So, number one is sometimes you got to let sellers out of contracts if there was a legitimate misunderstanding and it's justifiable. And then lesson number two is that's a case by case basis, right? Sometimes you have to hold sellers to contracts, but this one was a unique situation. I felt like it was the wrong thing to hold her accountable, but that's the way the business is. This business is a roller coaster. It's ups and downs. You know, we were stoked when we got it under contract, but then honestly, I wasn't even that pissed when the thing fell out because I was like, this is too good to be true anyways. So that's the Carson City special that never ended up closing. If you got value from this, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel, like the video. And if you're in Reno, Seattle, Delaware, New York, or San Diego, and you have a house you want to wholesale to me or wholesale with me, send me an email, greg@velocityhousebuyers.com, or send me a message on Instagram @grego37, and I'll see you on the next REI deal breakdown.